Hey everybody, it's your buddy Admiral Teague. I'm here to tell you about a great show called 1883, A Yellowstone Origin Story. It stars Tim McGraw as James Dutton, Faith Hill as his wife Margaret, and Sam Elliott as Shay Brennan. It's a fantastic show, and here's an overview that'll get you oriented. As the Dutton family departs Texas towards their destiny at the Yellowstone Ranch, please hit those like and follow buttons. And now, here's the video. If previous streaming shows are any indication, episode 4 means that in the mind of the writer of the streaming show, if he doesn't have a banger of an episode, there won't be anyone to watch episode 5 because they'll cancel. They're working off the idea that you bought a new Dell computer or something, and now you have, a free month of Paramount or a free month of whatever the streaming service is. The streaming services seem to follow a 4 episode sort of rhythm where it's like episode 1 is very compelling and sets the stage for a story you want to hear. Episode 2, we have a group of events that set us up for possibly a confrontation. Then confrontation happens in episode 3 or episode 4. Episode 5, we pick up the pieces. Episode 6, we build out the world a little more. Episode 7, we set the stage for an epic episode 8. The standard 8 episode streaming show. Have you noticed, as I have, that there seems to be a bit of calculation on behalf of the people who put this on where they think build up to episode 4 so that episode 5 is what people want to watch?
Yeah, to hook you to extend that 30-day free trial.
Episode 1 of 1883, we had a wild opener, and we flashed forward to Elsa Dutton fighting for her life against the Lakota warriors. That's young Isabel May. She's gorgeous. While months earlier, Shay Brennan, who's a Union Army vet, he and his buddy Thomas are hired to guide a bunch to Oregon. Along the way, they meet James Dutton, who's busy protecting his family from thieves and lowlives. Tensions rise, but they team up for the tough journey ahead. It's gritty and it's raw. And we saw the last town that you'd ever want to be in outside of Fort Worth, Texas. What was it? Hell's Half Acre. Didn't look like a fun place to be. Germ, we watched episode 1 together. What do you think? Did I cover it?
Yeah, that covers it pretty well.
I loved some of the dialogue. It was like open, expansive, and with an optimistic tone. She's like, I could smell the coal burning in the furnace of the train, along with the pollen in the air. It smelled like burned flowers. It's like that's pretty poetic. I appreciated the fact that this show seems it's even-handed with there's no pejorative here, there's no going after anybody. We're not putting the blame on anyone. We have a certain amount of people who want to journey west. They're looking for opportunity. There's nothing for them in Europe, and they're experiencing the heady freedom of being Americans. This seems to be a Taylor Sheridan thing. There's always like a meeting of some sort of all parties where we find out some people are just going to nod out of the rest of this TV show. Like a few people just aren't going to go on that trip. It's too dangerous. In 1883, we have a little talk about rattlesnakes, about the dangers of the trail. Sam Elliott is asked by these people who have come from Germany to settle in the northern part of the United States. You know, one, we don't have any survival skills for hot weather, but when we get someplace cold, we'll be okay. If we get to mountains, we know exactly what to do there. We'll be fine. He assesses this plan to make sense, which I would have to say that does make sense. You've got an entire country with a variety of environments. What do you think of the German settlers' plan that they're going to get to a place that's more or less like home?
It's a pretty good plan. It's just they did not plan on how to get there.
Their best preparations were just no match for what they have ahead of them. They have oxen. Sam Elliott immediately tells them that the oxen are going to die from the heat. There's no point bringing them on this trip. They can't do beast of burden stuff. And they're like, all we have is oxen. And I guess they bought what they thought they would need. So the first thing Sam Elliott does is swaps out as many oxen for horses as he can. They're going to travel this trail, and mostly where they say they're going, Oregon. I don't know if the Oregon Territory included South Dakota and Montana. They're heading straight up the mighty Mississippi, seems to be what I took away from where we're at in 1923. The Yellowstone Ranch that they're going to reach, or some of them are going to reach, is in either Montana or South Dakota. It's roughly 200 miles from the edge of the park, but the park is huge, and there's several other parks in that area. Sam Elliott only likes to say things once. Then, when he leaves town, if you haven't listened to him, unless you're doing something right in front of him that's absolutely going to end your life, he'll let you suffer the consequences so that other people will learn from seeing you. Because he said to them, do not drink water from the ground. What happens? They go to a river, they drink the water. A lot of them get sick, and it's not going to be fatal, but they're in a lot of pain. They're throwing up. They're drinking more of the not so great water. The first episode is where Jacob Dutton meets up with Sam Elliott. The second episode, behind us a cliff. First, we flash back to the Civil War. James Dutton is shattered by the Battle of Antietam. What was Tom Hanks doing there? Whatever we think of Tom Hanks, the person, and you know what, you have the right to think for yourself what you think about it. We don't have to be crazy about him to acknowledge that he is very, very, very skilled. Tim Mcgraw is playing this Confederate captain, but these guys dismount behind him. We cut back to his eyes, and when we cut again, he's looking up, and there's Tom Hanks. This Tom Hanks looks a good 10 to 12 years, 15 years, possibly younger than the Tom Hanks we know. He's playing General Meade. And we can tell right away because he has 2 stars on his shoulders, which is a middle Civil War innovation. And it's the Battle of Antietam. He's shattered. He's lost his men. Tom Hanks looks at him. He looks at Tom Hanks. 2 or 3 beats go by. And Tim Mcgraw tries to start to say something, and Tom Hanks just puts his hand on his shoulder and goes, I know. And he sits down next to him, and they both look wistfully off into the sunset.
Yeah, I didn't even recognize him until you said something. And he does the little cameo part very well, and there's no reason to even, first time going through, almost no one would notice.
And what you have to be realizing is it was Tom Hanks's men who did this to Tim Mcgraw's company or whatever he was in charge of. And then it's the narration comes back in as we see them sitting on this, empty ammunition chest in the middle of this burned out battlefield surrounded by horror. Is the Isabel May again saying he spent 3 years in a Union prison after that. So this guy has been through rough stuff, and it explains why he's so good with a gun, why he's so cool under fire, and why intimidating him and messing with him doesn't bother him. Fast forward to the journey west. Shay, who is Sam Elliott's character, hires cowboys to help wrangle cattle, but it all goes south when a group of riders attack the wagon train. I don't know if we could say they attacked it. Chaos ensues. Mary Abel is killed, and after a brutal shootout, Claire, James's sister, takes out her Type 0 phaser and does some bad stuff, like Captain Terrell does in Wrath of Khan. This show doesn't pull any punches. It's tragedy after tragedy. And I thought that second episode was very effective. Here's the thing. Sam Elliott in episode 1 tells him, watch out for these rattlesnakes. And he shows them to him, and he has it translated into German. These people are German. And he's like, do not, touch the poison ivy or the poison oak, or you'll get sick. They're brutal. This town they go to is really brutal. There's gunfights left and right. Would you live there? Or you basically already do, don't you?
Yeah, I've lived places like that and a fair bit worse.
Sam Elliott is like out drinking soda water at a bar, and like this she's like a psychic, or she's just so streetwise that it works like magic. But for lack of a better term, she uses like her real world skill to like read his aura, and she's just like, you come here to get drunk to forget? And he's like, I don't drink, this is soda water. And she's like, would you like to dance? And he's like, I don't dance anymore. And she looks at him, and you could see like she's using some sort of like second sight or something. And she's like, you come to a place to do things that you no longer do, to watch people do things that you don't want to do. And she's looks at him. She's like, "What was her name?" And at this point, he gets really soft. And we've also seen him slap his Type Zero phaser to the bottom of his neck a couple of times. He doesn't really care. He doesn't really care. The only thing that's keeping him going is, I guess, his job as a Pinkerton detective, and he's the lead Pinkerton detective, has him interested in helping these people make it to their new destination because he does care about them to a degree. He's being paid to care about him, but maybe it's bringing out a fatherly side of him. There's a lot of stuff going on that Sam Elliott's aware of that these pilgrims just don't have the wherewithal to deal with. What did you think of his little talk and the way that he's started to look out for him? Is it me, or is he starting to maybe find a little purpose in this?
He's finding a little purpose. He handled it the right way. Better a little dysentery than run into a rattlesnake or a group of guardians.
A group of guardians would be probably, a wild card. We don't know how they're going to handle it. But also, like, he checks over everyone before they leave. He mentions that he's so far away from any kind of help that there's no point. Like, there's nothing he can do. Then they mention to him that there's like a steam engine tractor and plow that can plow the land and increase the yield and do the work of like 100 farmhands. And he's like, I've been hearing about that for a long time. I ain't never seen one. The review. And everyone does the same thing. They kind of shrug and acknowledge. So 1883 is going on.
Yeah, it seems very, very accurate for the time.